Hello everybody and welcome back to the funniest tweets. Today is the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix edition, or the Imola GP, whatever you want to call it. The track that is old school, enriched in history, and gave us, until Lando Norris decided to go very quickly, one of the worst races for quite some time. However, your reactions were, of course, amazing. So let's dive into them right now. Biggest flop. Now, I had to include this segment purely because a lot of you that listen to our podcast or watch us on YouTube, and you would have seen that there is a biggest flop prediction in our podcast where both myself and Tommy, just on vibes, decide to pick a certain driver. I am now on my way to 7 out of 7 for picking drivers that have flopped during a weekend, and Perez being the latest addition to that list. And there's lots of memes that you have all made, so let's look at them now. The first one, Sports with L. What a sad little life, Matt. You ruined my race. Sergio Perez, it was over 50 seconds, I think, that he was behind Max Verstappen at the end. Had a weekend to forget. I don't think he's missed out on Q3 at all this year. And then I brought my little vibes to the table, and then Perez went, no, I won't make Q3, and then had an instance as well, didn't he, into Ravazza, went off the track, and it was just a weekend to forget. I am so sorry, Checo fans. It was an accident. I don't mean to do it. I'm just looking for points. At JoeGoat6P, Perez this weekend. Break Matt's curse streak or straight down to the biggest flop. Now, Tommy is, of course, not here for the podcast this weekend, but I will absolutely categorically, spoiler alert, be giving myself a point. At the real Muckris, I told you there were lots of different memes here. Perez trying to break Matt's biggest flop curse on him. And then I was, you shall not pass. I can't believe it, because you would have thought they were in two completely different teams. Max Verstappen won the race. Of course, it wasn't easy, and Lando really did try and catch him right at the end. Perez, I did feel a little bit sorry. I felt like Red Bull just left him out there hoping for a VSC or a safety car, but his pace was just absolutely nowhere. At Menu, the curse will come for all of them in 2024 eventually. I think I have chosen Perez before, so again, I'm sorry to do it again, but the memes were absolutely fantastic with this. We've got 2 more. At Mr. Idiot, who do you have in mind for this week? Perez, deal. Very good, Mr. Idiot. And then finally on this, Anjan_PN, 7 in 7 cannot be a coincidence. And then biggest flop of the weekend. There you go. Can I make it 8 of 8 in Monaco? I know a lot of you will be saying that I should absolutely put Charles Leclerc as biggest flop because he always has terrible luck around Monaco, but I would never do that to him. I'm wearing a Ferrari top, so I'll be picking someone else. Lando catching. Now, the biggest talking point has to be Lando Norris out of nowhere catching Max Verstappen at the end. We all thought it was done, dusted, curtains for the race. Max looked like he was fully in control, especially in the medium tyres at the start. Lando's not going to catch him. In the hard tyres, and the gap kind of stagnates and sort of sits around 6-7 seconds. And then Lando just starts flying. At Inferno the Fox, Norris catching Verstappen with 10 laps to go. Verstappen still wins the race. One more lap, maybe 2. He was 0.7 of a second coming out of the final corner. Oh, he would have had a chance. And I am convinced that Lando and Max wouldn't have been friends after that. If we'd had one more lap, I think Max gets his elbows out to the maximum. But instead, we are just living in the hypothetical. But what an ending to the race. It definitely went from like a 2 to a 4 or 5, maybe? At Not Toxic LP, Max for the first time in years. Well, he kind of lost in Miami, but I get what you mean. He was genuinely being caught without having damage and just generally having not great pace with the hard tyres. It's just... when you were riding on board with Lando in those last few laps, you could tell he was on the ragged edge. The amount of little corrections he was making. He was going right to the limit with the gravel. He sent it for the race victory, and you've got to appreciate it. He got sassy on the radio as well. Lando was dialed in, and it gives me, and I'm going to say this out loud, genuine hope that we could see some more race winners that aren't Max Verstappen this year. And that might sound like, oh, is that really that much to get excited for? Yes, because I thought 2024 was a wrap. I thought Red Bull would do what they did last year and just win pretty much everything. But we've actually got other teams catching. McLaren being the biggest one. Ferrari, not so much. Where's the upgrades? But we'll go on to that. But still, McLaren, Silverstone, it's on. At F1 Friends 2023, Lando Max action got me quite literally. I'm sure everybody was just laying there going, oh, another 20 laps to go. I remember looking at the lap counter with about 25 laps to go. Of course, we're live on Twitch, Matt P1 Tommy doing our watch-alongs. But I just thought, wow, that's going to be another 25 minutes of just praying that something will happen. And it just slowly but surely started teasing us. But didn't give us, I'm not even going to finish that sentence, something that we were looking for. At Tim DF588, another similar one this race so far, but it's Mr. Bean. And I feel like that, the moment that Mr. Bean sort of wakes up and realises is the time that Lando Norris starts to take 0.8 of a second out of Max Verstappen, and we all start to believe that championship is back on. It's probably not, but we can dream, right? Honourable mentions. Right, quite a few honourable mentions this week, just dotted around from different things. First one comes in from at Mr. Bear 15. Alonso's car this weekend. Fernando Alonso. What has happened these last couple of race weekends? A lot of people talking. We have Alex Jakes on the podcast, and he makes a good point that Fernando pushing the car that is clearly going backwards to the limits and beyond, trying to get something amazing out of the car and clearly pushing too hard. But still, a very uncharacteristic performance from Alonso. Tommy's on holiday, so I can't even slander directly to Tommy because he's not on the podcast. But just a strange one. And it's Aston Martin were in Formula A. They are now in Formula B. That top 10 car position has now shrunk to top 8, and then it's game on behind. Points have now become actually a possibility for the likes of Haas, and then you've got RB as well. So I guess for the midfield, it's a good thing. At Joanne_, the moving fast chicane. Checo to Hamilton, Minister of Defence. Checo to anyone else. Off you go. Now, I think this is a coincidence. I don't think Checo looks in his mirrors and goes, it's 2021 again. I need to defend from Hamilton like my life and career depends on it. But it's mad how he literally was like, no, you are not coming through, Hamilton. But then perhaps it was just purely because he thought he was going to battle him. That would have been very wishful thinking if he did think that, because he finished, 25 seconds behind the Mercedes? The medium tyres did not switch on, or at least Perez did not switch on in that second stint when Red Bull decided to finally pit him after one of the slowest stints ever. But yes, Checo still showing he's got his defensive manoeuvres, but then Imola. I love it. It's basically Monaco. It is, you can't really overtake. It's amazing to watch in qualifying. You've got mistakes punished everywhere, but at the same time, one DRS zone down to a corner that is not even, is obviously hard braking, but it's not into a hairpin. It's not into an out-braking zone, really, because it's quite a quick left-right. So where are they supposed to pass? Perez was basically in the whole highlight reel, falling backwards for the whole race and then going forwards a few times at the end on the mediums. But you do wonder, why put Imola and Monaco back to back? It's just the same track, but just with slightly less walls in Imola. At Cinema Law YT, literally everyone waiting for K-Mag to cause a crash so we can get a safety car. That is true. I saw it a lot in our Twitch chat when K-Mag and I think it was Joe were fighting for a position that definitely wasn't for points. You did wonder whether there was going to be just a little K-Mag punt. He would have seen in his mind's eye behind that fluorescent green Alpha car a weekend at home with his family when the Monaco Grand Prix is on. One little punt and he's getting 2 points and he's race banned. But instead it didn't happen, although Tommy is absolutely convinced that the FIA would not follow through with a race ban because it looks terrible. I'm not so convinced. How do you game-bag punch someone before his points get taken down slightly from 10? How do you say that that's 1 point? At Honza game, Max really loves the number 25, it seems. I mean, this is fantastically spotted. A 1 hour, 25 minutes, 25 seconds, 0.252 and scored 25 points. Are we living in a simulation right now? What's going on here? But love that. So well done, Honza. At F1 Dirty Side, commentators trying to make the battles interesting for the first 20 laps. I mean, it was quite uneventful, wasn't it, to say the least? It was I was just sat there trying to extract any kind of battle. Of course, Piastri was looking quite quick on signs, but he was stuck there. He got close a couple of moments. But one of those moments where he got close, the camera angle was straight at a tree. And then you saw them come into shot into turn 1. Speaking of cameras and things like that and the production, what was going on with the graphics? The graphics were having a meltdown. At some point, it came up with Hamilton having a pit lane start. Who are pressing these go live buttons? What are we doing here? Like, some things just weren't loading correctly. Pit lane limiter things were just carrying on counting. It's very important for Formula One fans to be staring at data. I find that. If I'm watching a race and I can't see the intervals, I basically feel like I'm watching with one eye. Do you know what I mean? Do you feel that as well? If I don't have that data at the very least, or with qualifying, you don't have the sectors, you just feel like you're watching a practice session. At XY Tricks, not a lot is happening in an F1 race when the commentator starts talking about the weather, which remains unchanged the entire race. It's a shame, actually, isn't it, that the weather didn't come in. Obviously, great that we had a race. So happy to see Imola back in action. But a little sprinkling, that would have been fun, wouldn't it? Imagine that in the last 10 laps, Max struggling. I know I'm creating a false image, a false hope, a dream of what a better race around Imola would have been. But it was forecast for a lot of the time. And I even predicted it as my crazy prediction. It didn't come true. Even though everyone was like, how did you get it? There's a crazy prediction. Well, it didn't come true, so I didn't even get a point. But yeah, very sunny, normal day. At Will Pascoe 14, commentators, 100% chance of a safety car. Safety car? How about no? I don't know if 100% chance of a safety car. I think what they were trying to say is that there's been a safety car 100% of the time before. That doesn't make it that it's going to be a 100% chance this weekend, because we didn't get to see one. And would it have spiced up the race? Well, yes, actually. Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Because when I was thinking about that and the pit stops had happened, you just thought, all right, if there's a safety car, Max will drive away and it'll be status quo. But the last 15 laps showed that if we did get a little safety car, Lando Norris would have been a back-to-back winner. But instead, 0.7 of a second. McLaren fans, how are we feeling? I bet you can't believe that a first and a second and you're feeling slightly disappointed after this weekend. Ridiculous. At Blucher 3, whenever Max has a runaway lead and the footage randomly switches to him to show that he does indeed exist. This was obviously done before Max started getting caught, and our beliefs, our ambitions just grew intensely. And now I believe we've got a McLaren versus Ferrari versus Red Bull fight for the championship for the next however many races we've got. That's a bit too much, isn't it? Max is going to win by a mile. But it's Monaco next. I'm putting every egg in these wonderful people's baskets. Right, it is now Tommy's tasty tweet time, but Tommy is not here because Tommy is on holiday, so it's actually Matt's tasty tweet time. And we've gone for at Duchon to Dope. When the world needed them most, they vanished. That is a great meme. I love that. I love the compilation that you've gone for there, even though, yeah, one of those cars is in absolute tatters. So I'm glad that didn't happen. But the red and the yellow flags and the safety cars, the VSCs, the general just unknown just didn't happen. They just vanished. And it would have given us a Lando Norris win, but great meme. Love it. Is that a Lion King meme? A Lion King template? Maybe. I'm not sure. But either or, thanks so much to Sean. You win a copy of F124 when it launches. Big thanks to EA for that one. Right, that is it. Thank you so much for watching the funniest tweets to the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix from 2024. Big thanks to EA as well for sponsoring this series, as always, for Matt's tasty tweet this weekend. Next weekend, we have Monaco. Yes, Monte Carlo, the track that is known for 1,000 overtakes. So look forward to that. We've had basically a taster in Imola, and for some reason they're like, you know what, stick Monaco on there as well. Thank you so much, as always, for all the support. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you with all of our normal content. You've got the driver ratings, you've got the main podcast, and then you've got Monaco predictions pretty much straight away after that. So we'll see you very soon. Lots of love. Bye!